Hello, fellow coders. This video will demonstrate the Swift 5 module template repository. This will show you how to create a Swift 5 module that also includes an iOS demonstration app. There's a couple tricks here. So this video will show you some of the clicks and little details that are not shown in the recipe. Let's begin. This is a flyover, so we're going to move it at a good pace, and you can feel free to pause. So let's start by reading the recipe here, but also by copying it locally. So we're going to make a copy of the repo. I'm going to clone it, save that there, and follow along with the recipe. If anything in this recipe does not match what you see, if there's any problem, stop, open an issue, show us what you have. Step one is to check Xcode. So we have some ingredients here. We're going to be typing some special values into the recipe, and these values are special because the purpose of this project is to create a Swift 5 module, but also we have a little program here that allows you to run a couple find and replaces so that you can vendor this into your own, you can white label this. We choose these values that we're going to use in this demonstration specifically. So we want to choose an organization name that has a space in it. This is because when Xcode uses that, it will give you double quotes. And when we find and replace, it will keep the double quotes. If we did not have a space, Xcode will not use double quotes. And if you find and replace it to something that does have a space, it will not work. Likewise for some other things here. Step one, everything that's normative is not italicized. Everything you have to do is not italicized. Non-normative text is italicized. So you are using Xcode version 12.4, 12D E4. If you're not, stop. This is old, and you can help to update these instructions. Number one, create a package in Xcode. File, new Swift package. File, new Swift package. This is going to be the reusable component of your code. Navigate to desktop. Command D, desktop. Type the name, this name. Get repo off, okay. Click create, create, next. Use terminal to drop a few files into the project. Done. This gives us a, whatever your module is, .swift, which will do something little, and then it gives us a asset. This is a picture of a white knight in chess wrapped up in a Swift file. Next, we're going to create the Swift project for the example app, which is going to be inside the folder, but it will be dependent on the reusable code that you have. Xcode file, new Swift, file, new project, file, new project, iOS app, next, product name, iOS example. We're going to use the name iOS example. Some other projects have actually named this after the module itself. I think this is best practice is to just name it iOS example every time. Team should be none. I don't have it's a new Mac, so I don't have a team set up. You should turn off the team. The reason you're turning off the team here is so that we can reproduce the results in the Swift 5 module template repo. For your own purposes, don't worry about these little changes. Organization identifier, likewise. Swift UI app, Swift UI app, Swift, okay. Not selected, not selected, not selected, next. Ensure repo off, done. Ensure add to is don't add, check. Set the folder to this on your desktop. So Command D, click here, click create, create, done. We recognize some best practices from the Alamo Fire repo. they are a great project. They have great structure. A lot of people pay attention to it. So if they change things, we will change things as well. Move the iOS example folder, example source code, into a folder named sources. By default, the sources will be in a folder named iOS example. We do not recognize that as a best practice. We recognize sources as the best practice name. Continue the instructions. Open the iOS example Xcode project. That's here. Command down, open. Enable the project Navigator. That's this thing. Use the Navigator to select the folder. That's the yellow one, folder. Rename this to sources. On Mac, you have to click one time. Sources. Element Fire project uses the word source. We use the word sources. Check both of these references. If there's a change in what we're representing, then these instructions are outdated. Xcode does not automatically reference this folder name that we just changed, so we'll need to do that manually. Click iOS example on the left. Click the target in the middle, that's the white one. Click build settings on the top. Search/info. Edit this. We're going to double click to do that, or once. Sources. Enter this in the box. Double click. Slow, double click. Good. Add some functionality. This will create a simple view. Make the example depend on your reusable module. Okay. Open iOS example Xcode project in Xcode. Command down, open. Already had it open, no big deal. Drag the project, which is the reusable module, from your desktop into the project navigator and make sure it is subordinated under the example, not under a folder. So we want this to be all the way down here. You will know it's working because the circle will be to the left of the disclosure indicator. Okay, we're going to drag this. I have a hot corner there. So when you just put it in, the circle is to the right of the folder, indicating it would go inside of it. That's a no good. So you have to, there you go. This is the way you want. I don't know which pixel it is you got to do, but I think if you come from the bottom, see the circle is to the left of the disclosure indicator. Let go. Next step, do you want to save? Save. Navigate inside the iOS example folder. So Command D, desktop, folder, iOS example. Set the name. Click Save. Caveat, inside this folder you will see this, which is duplicative to this. There's no way to avoid that. Warning, this will show as ... but you can ignore that. The next time that you open the workspace, it will not show ... This is an inconsistency. I call that as a bug. Add a build dependency. Now we have the reusable module, which is here, and we have your example, which is here. We need the latter to depend on the former. Click iOS example, left. Click the target, the white one, in the middle. Click build phases, here. Click link, done. Click plus, done. Select the reusable module, the one with the building icon. Add. Next step, add some best practice project management stuff in there. So we're going to drop some files like Travis, license, README, things like that. We recommend these all as best practices. Remove identifying parts of the project. If you had typed your name into the project, your module will have a diff from what's in the Swift 5 module template repo. We want to avoid any differences. So this is how you do that. I'm going to take this command, drop it in here. I'm going to take this command, get rid of the development team ID if you had one. Now, before we're going to taste test the app. So we want to make sure that the app works. So open iOS example Xcode project. Maybe that should be workspace. Oh, I'll close everything. Let's see if this works. Select iOS example, the latest iPhone, which is the 12. All the 12s are the same, okay. Choose product, run, failed. Okay, we should be using the workspace file, okay. Open workspace, click iOS example, latest device, product run, succeeded. And we actually want to see a big white knight. That is the functionality of our reusable module. Waiting. There we go. So we have successfully demonstrated a reusable module, which is this some part of a chess view or something like that, wrapped inside of an example app executed on iOS. That concludes the first part of the taste test. Next, we want to make sure that the recipe and the instructions that you read are up to date, and that the thing that you just created on your end matches what's in the file that everybody else is going to download when they clone the repo. This is how we do that. So we can close this. We don't need that. We don't need this. So we will compare the distributed version, which is the repo, versus the one you just created by running the recipe. So we're going to copy this. I'm going to paste that in here. And we have some diffs. So these are bad. This means that what you found inside, what you got from running the recipe was a little bit different than me. That's very bad because it demonstrates that this is not a reproducible process. And so let's manually go over this a little bit and see if shouldn't happen, but let's see what's going on. Okay, so these files, when I ran it on my computer an hour ago, and for you versus when you're running it, and for me versus when I'm running it a second time in a row with the same instructions, there's a slightly different identifier here. This kind of sucks. I don't know why running Xcode twice produces two different identifiers. I'm not really happy about that. The files are the same. The only thing that appears to be different here is the identifier. So that kind of sucks for reproducible builds. Let's proceed here. Likewise, this identifier is different starting here and here. So that is sub-ideal. Here, it appears that all the file names are the same, but these identifiers are a little different. And there is no material difference so far. Yeah, okay, so what we've done is we've confirmed that by running the recipe and producing this file on your desktop, that is basically the same as the same folder that we distributed inside the repo. So modulo a couple hashes that are different for some reason, this is a successful build. So that concludes the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are using a later version of Xcode, or if you have a different recipe, you have something else, you're welcome to make a pull request, please, for the latest Xcode, and you're even welcome to make a video. Otherwise, I'll do it, and I'll accept your PR. Thanks.